there guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys didn't know, 6.87 has arrived. Introduce yourself, lads.
What's up? I'm Yabba. You might have seen me on a couple of Hip's previous videos. I'm the really loud one that no one likes. Josh, you go ahead.
And I'm Josh, and you guys might remember me from the video where I was the best EK2K15.
Yeah,
And his name's
definitely.
Choc's got a
That's
Choc.
definitely what happened.
Usually.
Choc's got a Choc, that's me. Yes, that's me, usually.
And I mean, I'm Yabbaman. I like never change it because I'm boring. Right, into the patch notes. These are relatively first impressions. I think we've looked at, a couple of them. Like just accidental YouTube feeds, but other than that, these will be 100% first impressions. So it has reworked the ranked all pick. Before the picking phase begins, there's 15 seconds voting to ban heroes. Each player votes for a different hero. Afterwards, half of the heroes that voted to them will be randomly selected and banned. So basically, that's 10 people get to pick a hero they want banned. 5 of those heroes will be banned, so you can't pick them in the all picking phase that will, I assume, continue as normal.
Sounds pretty legit. Sounds like a nice addition.
That's good. Yeah,
Techies.
I like that.
But if you look at the details, 2 players can't vote for the same hero, so there will guaranteed be 5 heroes banned. There's no overlapping in that.
That makes sense.
So it will basically be OD banned, Invoker banned, and, assuming they don't get nerfs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically, meta heroes are gonna get banned, is what they're saying.
Yeah. So it's a nice safety net for getting rid of meta.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I like that. It's like makeshift captain's mode / random draft. It's like a little bit in between.
Like, see, if they had this sort of thing before, like 6.85, everyone would be banning Leshrac first thing.
Yeah.
Because he was just broken.
Slardar and Doom, they'd just be like,
exactly.
It's gone,
non-existent. And then last patch it would have been with OD and Invoker, same deal. Mainly OD.
Yeah.
And maybe even Nature's Prophet, insta-ban.
Yeah, I don't like Nature's Prophet.
Each team now has a scan ability available on the minimap UI. That's it. Okay, so it has a targeted 900 AoE for 8 seconds. Indicates whether there are enemy heroes in that area during the 8 seconds. Starts on cooldown and has a global team-wide cooldown of 4.5 minutes. So it doesn't consider units in the Roshan pit, but it does consider smoked units. It's like almost a counter smoke. Okay.
Oh wow.
Does not show how many heroes there are, just if there are enemies, and enemies do not know when your team casts them.
So
that's interesting.
When it says does not show how many heroes, I assume that just means it will be a red dot, right? It won't be like the
that's it. Yeah,
the
it'll
arrow
just tell you that there's
now
enemies
the hero
there.
icon.
Yeah, exactly. So you won't know whether it's 1 or 5, but you just know that there's someone there.
I'm not sure if I like this. Smoke was really nice, and now there's a small chance you can be seen.
Yeah, but the thing is that if they don't see you smoke, they have no idea. Like, there's an entire map to guess of where you smoked. I mean, 900 AoE I think is a little large. That's, for any of you who don't know, that's the AoE of a normal aura. Any auras your team will have will usually be 900 AoE. So that's aura AoE, which is actually like a really, really big AoE. If you think about it, that's like all of the secret shop. If you like point it on secret shop, it's like all of it. Or like the entire fountain. So, I mean, it's probably going to be quite easy to detect like the back end or front end of smokes. But I mean, 4.5 minutes, like, you're going to do it like once. Yeah. Like, smoke has, I think, like a 2-minute cooldown, and this has a 4.5-minute cooldown. So, you're going to be able to get smoke ganks off. It's just going to be, and it doesn't even work in the Roshan pit. So all you're going to use it for is like perhaps the mid laner would be like, oh look, I wonder if I'm being charged, or I wonder if there's like a bounty hunter nearby or something like that. That's like the only thing they could use it for.
Wards and they smoke closer to the Roche feed, you can get them before they go in.
Yeah, and it also doesn't say it has true sight, so you won't even see invis heroes. It'll just be like a clockwork flare. It's just a clockwork flare, if you want. I don't know how I feel about it. I think when it says available on the minimap UI, maybe it'll actually finally use that useless box you have on the UI. You know how there's like that random box. You're like, what's the box for? Maybe it's for the scan ability.
Oh, yep.
Every stat of strength you get will give you 20 HP now. Like an Ogre Club now gives you 200 instead of 190. Stuff like that. Very minor HP stuff.
I mean, that's the difference between First Blood and not First Blood in a lot of cases, though.
I suppose.
It's more about early game based. That's why like 180 to 200.
But if you look later down there, it says 1% per 16 intelligence. So bear in mind, every hero now deals more damage as well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So they are getting a bit tanky, but I think the 180 to 200 starting HP is mainly for like early game fights, just to
Yeah.
give, because you know how now, like I don't know last patch, but it was like if you start off really well early game, you sort of just snowball from there, and you just like get really really big really quick. And I think that's sort of
Uh-huh.
to balance that out, so you have a bit
Yeah,
more
you
chance if you have a bad start.
yeah, 6.86 you just three-manned and then you just like ganked two or three
That's it.
people and you could kill
Yeah, I've
them
seen an early
assuming you
Yeah.
game
had
with
reasonably
like
big.
a rune thing with 6 kills on it.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
well, if you do like three-mans, you just have like your mid and your safe lane. They just keep farming and you have like maybe like a roamer and invis and you're off lane and you just get like 2 kills and you're like, oh, well, we've won the game now.
Yeah, exactly. And like the same thing, like, I don't know if you guys watched the latest major, the Manila major that they had, but in the finals in one of the games it was like, start one team was really early game based and the other team was a bit more mid to late game, but because they just absolutely dominated early game, the other team literally had no chance of defending mid to late game.
Yeah, they just deathballed.
They
Death ball
exactly. You just can't do anything about it. So I think that's a really good balance thing in terms of early
just
game.
have more, slightly more HP.
One
Yeah,
thing I
that's
kind
it.
of
Yeah.
wonder about is how tanky is Ogre Magi now? Straight off the bat.
Oh,
Two.
no.
Too tanky.
Too
That's how
tanky.
tanky he
He's
is.
already too
Too
tanky. Don't even buy
Yeah, well,
Tangos.
base mana increased. Yeah. Base mana increased to 50, so
That's going to be good
slight
for
bit of
like
mana.
Chco and stuff like that who have really poor
Oh
mana
yes, I don't have to
early.
buy 2 branches on Earthshaker. Yes.
Exactly.
Haha, I can just because usually you used to buy 2 branches so that you could have 2 fissures by the
Yeah.
time it was off cooldown, whereas now I just start with more, so I don't need it.
And
Yay.
that
Yeah, that's it.
is useful
But
for
however,
people who deal damage based on how much mana they
OD, yeah,
OD,
OD.
and also
It's
the
OD,
ratio
that's
between
only
them.
OD.
And also, if you have
OD
your
Yeah.
and
intelligence
Medusa,
stolen,
yeah.
you can't have 50. You can always have 50 mana.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's true as well.
I've seen CMs that can't use their ulti before. It was hilarious.
I've gone against a Pudge who had 3 mana. Nice hook you got there, Pudge. I'm glad you threw that hook. Mana per intelligence reduced from 13 to 12, so very, very minor. A bit like the strength one. That little bit
It's
less
almost
mana
like
from
it's
items now.
almost yeah. They've reduced the overall mana gain by 25, so per intelligence instead of going up by 1, as in like every time you level. I mean, they've reduced it by 50 because I mean every level that you get increases your intelligence by 2. In stats, yeah, in stats. So it's like if you added them up, you'd get 50. And so they've just taken that away and given you 50 at the start to begin with as a base mana pool. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? It's sort of
Yes.
like a balance.
Actually,
Yeah, sorta.
would some heroes be able to get an extra stun off now because of this? Like Sven?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Jake
yeah.
and Sven, just get 2 stuns off.
Yeah.
Even with Jug, for example, like he has a bit more,
Yeah.
like,
Earthshaker, Sven, Juggernaut, and Sanking now can all get off 2 stuns before they need to use a Clarity or a Mango.
yeah.
It's beautiful.
I mean, even with like jungle heroes like Enchantress, like to be able to use her enchant on creeps, like you just have a bit more room to work with. Same with like Enigma. When you begin, you sort of have a bit more room.
Oh yeah, that means Prophet and Enigma can get off 2 things. Oh, I don't like that now.
Yeah.
They got off 2 Eidolons and 2 Treant spawns. Oh, that sucks. Oh well. Intelligence now increases your spell damage by a very minor 1% per 16 int, which is roughly 6% when you have 100 intelligence. If you want to compare it to Aether Lens, you need how many was it?
6.
128 intelligence.
Yeah, something like that.
You need 128 intelligence if you want to get the same buff that you usually get from Aether Lens. And 128 intelligence is roughly 4th size of Vise. So if you put it that way, basically you're going to have like 2% spell amp when you get a Scythe of Vise. It's going to be very, very minor. It just means late game heroes will deal more damage to account for the fact that everyone gets slightly more strength
More
per item.
strength. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I mean,
everything's just
it's
going
basically,
up.
but because everyone has less mana, everyone's going to be buying more intelligence items to boost up their mana, right? And so
Yeah.
they're going to get slightly more damage from doing it that way. But because you also have more strength gain, it's basically, I think, going to equal out mainly.
Yeah, they're not. Exactly.
It's just going to mean. It's going to mean
just-
early game, I think, is slightly more balanced, and the late game is also
Yeah.
slightly more balanced, and the mid game should remain exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like right now, early game's like really bad, and late game's like really OP, and so it sort of just closing in the gap between the early and late game, just
Yeah,
to
it should
balancing
do.
them out.
It kind of looks like a big
I
change
mean, I
on
like
paper,
that.
but it's not very big at all.
It's not that big. No, it's not.
Creeps have 2 extra HP at every upgrade. They upgrade every 7.5 minutes. So every 15 minutes they'll have 4 extra HP. No, 24 extra HP rather, which is 4 more than they would have before. So very, very minor, tankier creeps because again, everyone's dealing slightly more damage. Tier 2s, however, now deal the same as Tier 3 towers, which means Tier 2s are going to be harder to push because they're going to like 2-shot your creeps instead of 3-shot your creeps, which will be very interesting. That should,
but towers
as
also
Josh
grant
said,
armor.
it's basically going to reduce death ball strats because the towers are going to be dealing more damage.
Yeah,
So you can't really just like 3-man kill 2 heroes then push the tower.
that's it. Yeah.
Because the towers give armor auras and deal more damage. However, I'm glad that they've reduced the true sight range. Now it is exactly the same as the attack range.
Oh, that's
Because you always
great.
had that annoying thing where you stood there for a gank and you're like, oh look, I'm out of tower range, and then they could see you and you're like, oh, but
Well,
how do I know that?
Yeah, that was a pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initial boundary no longer gives experience.
Oh, that's kind of annoying.
Interesting.
Get straight to level 2
I
if you're
think-
lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's to reduce the whole death ball strat because if one team gets both bounty runes, you're starting off on a plus 200 experience handicap, and then that can sort of. I mean, even though on paper
It was
it's only a
300
little bit.
experience, but yeah. 2 heroes get level 2, like a creep wave before everyone else on the map gets level 2, which means like a Lina or a Lion or like a Shadow Shaman, like any hero with like a good nuke and a good stun, they could just
Or even like a
destroy anyone.
Beastmaster.
Or like a Pudge. It was just like, oh, I've got Hook and Rock. I have Hook and Rot, and you have nothing. Like, what are you gonna do? You're on
And
the tower and
Dismember.
you're dead. Because
Yeah.
I just got like Bounty Rune. So now it just gives that little bit bonus gold. I mean, maybe they shouldn't have done it so it doesn't give no experience. Maybe they should just halved it again, so it only gave like 200 experience as opposed to 300 experience. Because then
Yeah.
you still need a couple creep. Like you still get a little bit ahead, whereas this just gives you gold, so there's not much point. But
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, unless you're an alchemist, then yeah, it's still good.
Yeah.
Melee hero attack range.
Melee
increased
hero.
128 to 150.
That is great.
Very nice.
That is awesome.
Everybody can get behind this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
I guess.
That's awesome.
I mean, it
just
sucks
makes-
for Drow, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does.
And what are
I mean, also,
short ranged heroes?
Visage is pretty short range. I'm pretty sure.
Are you mental, mate? Storm Spirit, you've got Luna, you've got
Yeah.
they're gonna have a harder time because melee heroes are gonna attack from further away. Although it might look a little weird in game though, because there'll be like a small gap between their hero and your hero now, and you're like, but what? Because they've got what's it, 22 extra
Extra
range.
range.
So
I don't know. Maybe it isn't as big as I think it is.
Yeah.
it's like it's.
I think
tiny.
it's just so that it's easier to sort of get through the early laning phase where you get in a hard lane, so you can still sort of have a bit more range to last hit.
Yeah, you don't have to go as close to the creeps. You can hit it from further away.
Yeah.
There's some aggro stuff, so the off laning is harder, I think. Yeah, they chase you for longer, but they'll take longer for them to chase you again, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Melee creeps give less gold, but range creeps give more gold, so you end up having exact same. Oh wait, no, sorry. Melee creeps give less gold. Range creeps give the same gold, but melee creeps give less experience, and range creeps give like over double the experience, which still ends up being the same. But now range creeps are worth so much experience, you might as well just like kill that one creep in the lane, and then you could just leave.
40 went
Like,
to 90.
90 experience from a range creep. That's like as much as a catapult. That's insane.
That's wow. Okay. I mean, look at the same total XP per wave. It's not changed that much though. Like 3 melee and 1 range. It just means that if you deny a range creep, you are actually denying them so much more experience.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
people who like eat the creep before it even arrives, like Enigma. Is he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A lich can
Lich.
sacrifice it.
I mean, Enigma can do the same with the other teamers, like to the other teams.
Although that's still pretty broken on lich now, if you think about it, because it used to give half of the creep's experience to each person in the lane or something like that. So now lich can just be like, here's 45 experience to both of us, as opposed to 20, and it's like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
And the creeps get more gold.
Experience
per
required.
minute upgrades. So they doubled it. which I think
That's
is pretty
very
good.
minor. Just means you get slightly more gold later on in the game. That's it though. So experience required to get to level 8 and 9 rescaled from 600 to 1200 to 800 1000, which means you get to level 8
A
slower,
little
but
bit
you get
longer.
to level 9 quicker.
I think I like that because before it was like, yeah, I've reached level 8, and then you just have to sit there for an eternity until you get level 9
Yeah.
because you need twice the
Yeah.
amount of experience. Whereas now it's a little bit
Yeah, it's more shared.
closer. Yeah.
Because now I think it goes 600, 600, 600, 600, blah, 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 then 800, 1000, 1200, 1200, 1200, and then like 1400, and then stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't get this next point, but okay.
Ethereal?
Ethereal now blocks in-flight attack projectiles fully rather than just ones launched before Ethereal.
So, like, something like, Skyrat's Arcane Bolt, for example,
Yeah?
that would get blocked now. So before, if you launched it after, it would be blocked by Ethereal. I think that's what it's going for. Because it would say previously non-physical damage could sometimes go through. So I'm guessing like...
Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. So if they're Ethereal and then you lob an Arcane Bolt,
Yeah.
it would still hit them. But if you launch Arcane Bolt, then Ethereal, then it would get blocked, whereas now anything in the air just gets blocked.
Guess what?
Or
That's
something
it, yeah.
like that.
That's it, yeah.
Less damage, basically. Just less damage.
Yeah.
Evasion now uses pseudo-random, so PA can actually die. That's fantastic.
That's
Everyone
awesome.
get behind this.
Evasion is now calculated on impact rather than on launch, so similar to how Craggy now works, how Return now works, stuff like that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And that also works with the pseudo-random. So I think now, because it's pseudo-random, you have more chance of hitting them when they have evasion than you did before.
Early on, and later on, no, yeah. Yeah, it means...
Again, I was going with the whole balance thing again.
Yeah,
over the period of the game, it might not change a whole lot, but you'd have, yeah.
It just means
More
PA,
chances
like,
of-
because PA could before just get like one level in Blur and you just couldn't hit her, and you're like, oh okay. Now hopefully you should still be able to hit her. So this next one's interesting. Centaur coursers, which are the little tiny centaurs in the blue centaur camp, have 500 to 350 HP and have one less armor, but there's now 2 of them instead of 1.
That's interesting.
But it does say that they have reduced gold or experience, so maybe now you get more experience from the centaur camps?
I'm
How do
assuming
they
you'd
more
get
money?
more experience out of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good for people who have like split shot or something.
Yeah.
Like Mjolnir procs and stuff, yeah. That also means that early game...
LC.
I'm trying to think. So if it's reduced, early game would be harder to jungle those camps, like Nature's or Enigma. Or I don't know, it would be them because they do have a slightly more health. But at the same time, the armor's been reduced.
It would be harder for Enigma because before he
because
could
he
just,
needs to get this attacks.
No, before Enigma could just eat one Courser and then he would only have to fight the blue one, whereas now he has to eat one Courser, kill the other Courser, then kill the blue one. So Enigma now has more things to kill.
And it would be harder for his Eidolons to get the minimum hits required before they split into 2.
Yeah, it's
like don't die quicker.
This makes the camp harder, but because there's 2, you get more XP.
Yeah.
Which means this camp is now probably as hard as the Red Bears, which isn't fun. Bloody Ursa Bears.
I think it would require a bit more microing your Eidolons around if you're Enigma for this camp.
Or other stuff like that.
You have to make sure. Alright, Roshan magic resistance reduced from 75% to 55%. Okay, Roshan HP increased from 7,500 plus 125 a minute to 8,000 plus 175 a minute.
Well, that makes it hard
So
to do.
early
Tanky,
Roshans, So like early Roche, like level 1 Roche, or even like 10
but
minutes into
if you
the
read
game,
that
Roche
last point, it's like that last point is heartbreaking.
Oh, last Roshan experience bounty changed from 1789 to 750 plus 20 a minute.
Which compared to previously, that basically means Roshan gives less experience before the 52-minute mark and more after. 52 minutes to get the same amount of gold.
I've seen a video online.
Sorry, the same amount of experience.
52
minutes.
People are doing
Oh my god.
Roshan early, but then the enemy team with one person steals it, goes straight to like almost level 6.
Yeah.
Like,
You do level 1 Roshan
mark.
and then you get everyone to move out and the Ursa just gets like, oh, I got enraged, dids, you're all dead.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can't do that. You can't just do like, you can't do 5-man Roshi. Well, you can do 5-man Roshi's level 1, but it's not really worth it because he's tankier and you get less for it. So
He gives,
great.
Yeah.
Double damage and haste no longer get dispelled by spell immunity or something like that, and the following buffs are now purgeable, so you can purge. How is Nightmare a buff? And how is Spawn Spiderlings a buff? Anyway,
Because it's like
Nightmare, Spawn
it's
Spiderlings, Malefice, Cold Snap, Corrosive Skin, yes! And
Oh,
Leap
that's pretty
movement
nice.
speed buff.
Like getting out of Cold Snap even is just great.
Yep, getting out
Yeah,
of
but see,
Corrosive
that's
Skin
annoying
there,
'cause-
Kips, because I know you like playing the Cancerous
Yeah.
Viper.
And I love
You
playing
green
Invoker,
turd.
so it's like annoying for me because Cold Snap's now purgeable.
But the thing
I mean,
about Corrosive Skin
I'm
anyway
not
is
too
it like
concerned,
refreshes.
but
Oh no, it's purgeable by Malefice. Oh wait, none of us play Enigma. Okay, never mind.
no, but with the Nightmare thing again, going back to the buffs, it would be like that just means that Doom's a whole lot more useful as a utility, just because he can pick up the Purge from one of the small camps
Yeah.
Yeah.
and have
It
that for his
basically
teammates.
means, like, because before, if you had a Bane on your team, right, and you used Nightmare on someone, and you were like a PL, you were like, okay, right, gotta sit here for 8 seconds until that runs out.
Well,
Oh
yeah,
look, and
suppose
now
so.
I can hit. Whereas now you can just be like, oh, defusal, and you're dead.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
But then you can't.
Although,
sow them
why
with the
you'd
same
want to purge
refusal.
off Spawn Spiderlings, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
You'd have to be really
Okay.
like good at timing that.
Yeah. Minor adjustments to cast range mechanics to reduce overly long cast ranges when target is moving quickly. So basically, if someone had a haste rune, and they like threw a hook, I'm just going to use Purge as an example. They threw a hook, it would be like 10 extra units or something, and you'd get a slightly long range hook because of how fast you're moving.
Oh, okay.
And it like bugged the game out a little bit. So I suppose that just means that it is now the correct distance that it should be.
This one's a little bit interesting. Illusions now benefit from damage.
Illusions now get damage block,
So you can
so
put a
that's
snap shield
Vanguard
on some
and stuff.
illusion dude.
Vanguard, poor man's shield. Hey, yo, Kips, you know we were talking about that support Terrorblade?
We were talking about that.
and now support.
Me and Kips were like, oh, we can do support Terrorblade. Just get Vanguard. Ta-da! Support Terrorblade.
And
And I
obviously-
suppose support Naga's been further buffed.
Yep.
Yeah, there's tons of Captain's Mode stuff coming up. I'll read it out, because
Just read them all in one
Captain's
go
Mode
because
pick
no one
time.
really gives a shit about it.
basically the banning and picking has been rearranged, so it's slightly different, but basically it's overall and no one particularly cares because no one plays Captain's Mode except for pro players. Basically, you get less base pick time and you get more bonus time, so whatever.
And they've just rearranged
Then there's
the
tons of
order
stuff on
the
armor
picks.
type that I'm not nerdy enough to know about. If you want to know about it, go watch Purge's video, which I'm sure he'll have up soon. So remove strong armor type, moved it to soft, and then renamed it to basic. Roshan basically now deals more damage to heroes. The Dark Troll Summoner now deals more damage to heroes, and the Thunderhide Ancient Creep now deals more damage to heroes. And as a result, the Dark Troll and the Thunderhide now deal slightly less base damage to begin with. The Harpy Stormcrafter, which is the one that shoots lightning, has less base mana, so Enchantress and Chen can't spam it. And then the Satyr, which is the one that shoots the Hadoken ball,
Mana drain.
now also has less mana,
So you can't spend mana
so
drain
that
as
now
much.
deals less damage.